So we'd like to now open it up for a few questions for our panelists. I think we have some, you can just speak loudly if you can raise your hands. And we'd like to get maybe a question for each of them from our global perspective, West Africa, Southeast Asia, and South Africa.
So my question is for Ido. Thank you all for amazing presentations at the speed of light. It was really interesting to see what has been the response from the Indonesian government in terms of this advocacy roadmap that you have now? Or has there been any engagement?
Can you use the mic, Ido?
Oh, yeah. With Indonesian government, we have a lot of engagement with Indonesian government. For example, PKNI. I give an example. For example, PKNI was involved in the development of the guideline for hepatitis C testing and treatment. So basically, I think it's the first government's document which included logo from civil society in the document. And in others, for another examples, we have been doing community-led monitoring since 2012, I think. Yeah, 2012 at the end. And the first community-led monitoring we did was monitoring for the quality of harm reduction program in Indonesia. And also in 2015, there was a community-based drug dependence treatment, which is supported by Global Fund. At the time, the Global Fund wants to stop funding it, and then we, as a National Network of People Use Drug, doing also community-led monitoring. And the result, we using the document of the community-led monitoring to advocate the Global Fund to keep funding the community-based drug dependence treatment. And also with the monitoring of the quality of harm reduction, now GLM, it's included in the Global Fund as one of big activity. And also, if you know paralegal, the paralegal in the Global Fund proposal, I think in 2014 and 15, we came to Tanzania, I think Tanput and Kenya, to give them to conduct training for our friend in Tanzania and Kenya for doing a peer paralegal, basically to give them knowledge about how to give legal assistance, start from first contact with the police and then after, continue to the trial process.
Greg, can I ask that we end it there? It's great to hear the diversity of engagements in Indonesia, so that we can open it up to another question to maybe one of the other panelists. Sikona?
My question is directed to Shanae. Thank you so much, everyone, for the presentation. In terms of the African continent, what are the constituencies of the people?
Okay. People use drugs often experience stigma and discrimination, limited access to healthcare, and violence. The challenges particularly affect women who use drugs. People use drugs are at risk of and fear of incarceration. And many people who use drugs have been in prison, which has had a negative psychological and social and economical impact on their lives. And also, with the punitive approach on drugs in South Africa, this approach creates criminals. Thank you.
So by decriminalizing, we'd address many of those issues. Thank you. Yes, Mo.
Good day. Thank you so much for all your presentations.
So can I phrase that to Nigeria? So it's around sex work, decrim, or other key populations that face that are affected by criminalization. Have there been intersectionalities, engagements? What lessons have you learned?
Okay, yeah. After the presentation yesterday on the decriminalization of the process of decriminalization of sex work, I met with the presenter in the lift, and one of the things that stood out for me was the socioeconomic impact assessment, and it's one of the lessons we are going to take back to Nigeria, because I think that is something we didn't think of. Providing a socioeconomic impact assessment of decriminalization of drug use, and I think it's powerful. And then linking that with what HRI is doing about comparing the cost between criminalization and decriminalization, I think that is one of the key takes I'll take from this. Thank you.
So it sounds like there's an intention to learn more from other movements. So any question to the global perspective from input? Yes, please. There's no mic.
Thank you, and thank you for the presenters for their presentations. They're really interesting. My question is to Aditya, since there hasn't been question posed to you. I think my question would be closely linked to intersectionality, but I just wanted to know what are those global advocacy strategies that are being implemented globally to kind of connect KPs in the same struggle around decrim, because at the end of the day, sex work, LGBTI, drug use, there's all that connection. What are those strategies that are there at a global level to connect the work so that we don't work in silos? Thanks.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for that question. I think it's very important because this is also one of the things that not just Input, but also other global key population network, NSWP, Impact Global, Action, and GATE, who represent the 4 key populations, have been really pushing, particularly UNAIDS, in ensuring that the data that countries are reporting are actually reflecting the situation in the ground. Because sometimes numbers that are reported in the global AIDS update or report, they don't necessarily tell us a story, what's happening on the ground. Like, a number of countries have decriminalized sex work, but really, are they really the most accurate reference? And countries, as I mentioned, there are a number of countries that claim to have decriminalized drug use, but there are still sanctions. People are getting exorbitant fines. The people are getting administrative sanctions. People are being sent to rehab mandatorily. And these, kind of realities that needs to be brought up to the global level, and also making sure that when they present data, they also present the realities. And we need to be able to really understand what do we mean by decriminalization. If you look at my document that I shared, it explains that for Input, our perspective on decrim is that we want full decriminalization without any sanctions. And that's, I think, resonates to other key population networks as well, that we need to be very clear about what we mean by decrim, and we need to push for that. And we're working closely with UNAIDS to ensure that when countries are reporting, because it's their accountability mechanism towards the political declaration, and we want to make sure that the indicators included in the global AIDS monitoring and it reflects, try to be more, try to be as accurate as possible. I know that it's impossible work to have those indicators, but we work together to make sure that we are on the same page on when we talk about decrim.
Great, thank you very much. Can we have a round of applause for our panelists?